Good morning and welcome to my hobby bench. It has been some time since I've made a video or done a look inside video or done anything with the hobby for that matter. But today is a different day, and yesterday was actually kind of a cool day because yesterday was yet another RC auction and swap meet hosted by the Milwaukee Association of RC Clubs, and this was in West Bend, Wisconsin. This is the same swap meet that I went to exactly, well, it would have been 1 year ago today, but I went yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday. Went to it last year, and I took my camera last year, took some engines, didn't sell or trade anything, but I did make a video last year. Now this year I brought my handheld camera and started to make a video, and then all of a sudden I was just like, when I walked in there, I took a 30-second shot, and I was like, I just don't feel like making a video of this swap meet.
Make it smile pretty.
It is pretty.
Isn't it? Yeah.
You can look at last year's, it looks basically the same. So I just put the camera away and just walked around as a participant instead of a filmmaker. And it was pretty cool because this was nice because nobody at least came up to me recognizing me and talking to me that I didn't know or never seen before, which was kind of a nice surprise. It was nice. But like last year, I didn't leave this West Bend swap meet empty-handed completely, because as you can see on the table here, and as you can see from the title of the video, I have a Moki engine on the table, and it's a Moki 180 30cc engine. Now, I really couldn't turn this thing down, and you're going to find out why here in a second. This is going to be a look inside video because I'm trying to figure out if this engine is new or run one time or what. But you can see this is a large engine. This is, obviously a 180, so it's probably close to the same size, if not a little bit smaller than the 210 that I had a while back. Anyway, this engine looked incredible. It doesn't look like it's ever been run at all, although my smell test cannot confirm nor deny that. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get up in here close enough to be able to really show you what that piston looks like, but it doesn't look like it's got any runtime. Now, this is a ringed engine, and this is a Hungarian engine for those of you unfamiliar with Moki engines. These began to be distributed and brought to the United States in about 1991. And the nice thing about this engine, which is kind of cool, I've never seen this on an engine before, and there is 2 articles on the Scepter test flight reports webpage on the Moki engine. One of them is by Clarence Lee. And for all it looks like, the RC Modeler, where Clarence Lee posted his engine reviews, never really put dates on the pages like Model Airplane News did. So you always kind of, on his, you always kind of have to read the first couple of paragraphs to figure out what year it was, if you don't have the magazine, which I don't. And it seemed to me that this, his review took place around 1992 maybe. Now, the thing that I thought was really interesting on this engine, and I'm hoping I'll have to zoom in here and see if you can see it, is that on this lug, it actually says there's a number 95 and then the numbers 1992 embossed on it. I have never seen an engine manufacturer that actually embosses a date on an engine, but I'm going to say that's actually a date because it lines up perfectly with the review article and the timeline of this engine. So this 95 might be the 95th engine made in 1992. That's what I'm going to say. So this is a really cool engine, and the reason I couldn't turn it down, now let me just say 95% of that swap meet was electric stuff. There was some car stuff there, but 90% of the airplane stuff was electric. there were some glow engines, and it's funny because there was the same batch of glow engines, same box of glow engines that I saw last year that hadn't sold. And one of them was an OS 120, FS 120 non-surpass, the pre-surpass engine. It had the same $250 tag on it, the same beat-up looking engine. No wonder it didn't sell. But they had, you know, there were a couple of people there that had some glow engines, not a lot. There was a small area here about like this on a table that had, you know, a couple of Satos, an OS FS40 engine for like $75. I didn't want that because I've had a million of those before. And it's for me, it's one of those things where if I'm going to spend money on an engine anymore, I want to try and find an engine that I haven't put on this channel yet. And that's getting really hard to do, that's affordable, available, and that I haven't put on the channel. This one really fit the bill. Now here's going to be why I bought it. It came with a Bisson muffler because these didn't come with stock mufflers. Bisson had a deal where they would make mufflers that fit them. And this is why I bought the engine. Moki 180, $50. 50, $50. I'm like, hell yes, I am going to buy this engine for $50. And how can you blame me? So let's get into the look inside of this video. Now I'm going to pull this carb off first. Do I already? I think I may have already loosened that up. Because I'm trying to figure out if this engine is new or not. Because to me, it looks beautiful. I mean, even the exhaust flange here doesn't look like it's got any carbon on it. And my smell test is usually pretty good, and I cannot smell anything. I am uncertain if Moki, maybe that's just not the right. I thought I had something that would take. Okay, so back to carb removal. I did manage to get the carb off, and apparently this thing has just got such tight tolerances that this little thing here, if it's not exactly perfect, it was causing some serious binding. So I got the carb off, and we'll go through the carb individually because I'm going to disassemble it for the third time and show you guys what the carb looks like. It's a very simple carb, but it's a very nice looking carb. But if you look in here, I'm going to try and shine my flashlight in there. I don't know if that's going to be able to, I can't tell if it's showing you much of anything on the video or not. To me it looks like there's a little bit of carbon glaze of some sort. And I smell something. But man, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they run these things at the factory or not, because the external finish of this engine just totally looks like it's a brand new engine. But we're going to take off the back plate, and I'm going to pull the glow plug here. Now this is a ringed engine. Is that not the right one? It's not. Ringed engine. It's not a Dykes ring. It's just a standard ringed engine. I want to see what this glow plug is that they've got in here, because it seemed like the last time I ran that Moki 210, I was using a OSF plug, a 4-stroke plug. And see, that's one of the things with Clarence Lee's articles that I was thinking about a month or so ago or more, is that, you know, he goes through all this information in these review articles, and just about everybody, you know, in these review or engine review articles, they go through all kinds of information as far as, you know, how long they broke it in, props and stuff they use, but they never, ever, ever mention what glow plug they use. And I don't understand that whatsoever, because that's really important. And they don't say, well, we blew out 2 glow plugs in the process or anything like that. So you really don't know what plug to use, because like I said, I ran that Moki 210 on a 4-stroke plug, and this one looks like it's an OS, this is an OS number 8 plug. Yeah, that's typical. That's what you would run on a 2-stroke engine for the most part. I'll have to go back and look at what I ran on my OS BGX, but it was probably a 2-stroke, a number 8 plug too, perhaps. But this engine was actually designed to run on FAI fuel, which is a good thing for me because I have FAI fuel. But I don't think you can see much. The side of the piston doesn't look like there's any carbon on it at all. Let's see how tough this is going to be. Oh, damn. That's tight. It ain't tight, it ain't right. That's what they say. Which is another nice thing about having that carb off. So I'm going to go throwing the engine around here trying to get these back screws off. You know, I just quickly, before I started this video, was reading the Clarence Lee review on this engine, and they were saying that due to the precise machining of this engine, there are no gaskets. There's no gasket here. There's no gasket here. I doubt there's one on the head, unless it's a shim. It wouldn't be a gasket, it would be a shim. So we can validate that. I've had these radial mounts like this before on my BGX engine, so I'll have to refer back to that as far as what holes I used in that. I don't think this engine's ever been run. It smells like weird preservative oil. Okay, so here's that. So it looks like there's a bit of swirl marks here. This could be just from somebody manually like me rotating it over. It doesn't necessarily look like it's from a run. And this just smells like, I don't know, the word cosmoline comes to my mind, but I don't know that cosmoline is the right word or material or anything. But this does not smell like fuel residue at all. So here's the inside. Let's see if zooming in here is going to help at all. Like I said, I'm sitting here looking up at my LCD screen instead of looking down and sticking my head in there. Now I'm looking in there with my head. That bearing looks perfect. So this, I'm just gonna say I just don't think this engine's ever been run. Now I could go through the effort of taking the head off and looking at the top of the piston, which maybe we can do if this isn't too big of a hassle. I don't know anymore now. I'm kind of nervous about taking engines apart for some strange reason. Maybe it's because it's been so long since I've done it. Right now I'm saying this is a never run engine, which for $50, that's pretty incredible. I don't know that I need to be zoomed in quite so much here for this. Maybe here in a minute, I don't know. I zoom in, then I forget that I'm zoomed in and move the subject off the mark, and then you can't see what I'm doing. It's happened way too many times before. Hopefully it didn't happen this time. That's why I kind of use this mat. I always kind of frame up the video and say, David, keep your subject within these squares. Don't move it out of there. And generally that works pretty well as long as I remember that sometimes in the heat of the moment you start sticking your head in there and moving the engine around. Okay, look at that. This is a brand new engine. Look at that. There's no way anybody's going to tell me that's not a brand new engine. I don't know if that LED flashlight is helpful or... But I did feel a shim. Yeah, I thought so. I felt a pretty... Damn. It's a really hefty shim, and it's really kind of... That's weird. I don't understand that. This shim came out of there, but it's like really deformed. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that or not. Yeah, see how gnarly the edges of that thing look? That's not just gunk. That's like dinged up. What the hell? How the hell could that have happened? What if this thing is... Man, oh, you know, it's one of those things where it looks like the shim may have been oversized and the head kind of peened it down a little bit, and then I see right here where one of the screws bit into the shim. That's interesting. Yeah, look at the top of the dome of this piston or head. There's never been any combustion in there at all. This is a new engine. I'm not super excited about this thing though. I don't know if I should. I don't have an anvil or anything to go flatten that out. But that just doesn't. I mean, it had good compression. I wonder if it really, really needs that shim in there. I mean, I'm sure it really increases the compression if that's out, because that's a pretty beefy shim. I don't have my calipers here, but man, that's like over 0.1 millimeter. That's a hell of a shim. It seems to fit on there so much nicer without that. Is it touching? Is the piston touching? Hear that? Could it? No, it can't be touching. Why would it be making that sound? Let's put this back on and see if it made that weird sound. Didn't make that weird sound there, so it's like that shim obviously has to be there, but I just don't like the way that shim fits on there. Oh well, so anyway, there's that. I'm going to leave this right like this because this video is probably getting kind of long and I may have lost some people here, but I want to show you this carb. So I'm going to zoom way in. Oh, I guess that's as way in as I can get here on this carb. Now this carb, let's do it this way. Moki RC on it, throttle arm, idle set, throttle stop screw, high speed needle, fuel nipple inlet, mixture adjustment. Now, Clarence Lee was saying this is more like a Perry carb than anything, because it's got this mixture adjustment like this, where it's got these two O-rings and it's got a notch. If you're going to be able to, yeah, you can see that notch there. And under the notches has plus and minus. Minus is on this side and plus is on this side. And if I take this screw out and pull the barrel out, it's got this metering slot here. So if I rotate that, this goes on here like this. See this hole here? Now the notch is right up here. So this hole basically acts as the metering. Let me pull it off so you can see that slot. So actually this part wouldn't be moving, so we'll pretend like, put it back on here. And when it's closed, I don't know about what orientation it would be. You can see, let's say this is top and this is the notches here at the top. Now our metering hole is here. So as the barrel rotates open, you get more fuel based on how that metering notches, because this tapers quite a bit. So I don't know if it's about as good as I can explain it and show it to you. So this slot is for that pin, the screw, the screw to hold the barrel in place and to allow the maximum minimum rotation. And then the fuel comes in here. It's coming in. Let's see if this was. Well, let's see. This goes on here like this. Fuel is coming in here, which is basically right in this area here, it looks like. So the fuel is going to be coming in through that metering slot and then coming through the hole here. Well, there's not a hole there, but if you look, I can see in here, this hole here is connected to a little nipple there, or a brass inlet. So that's how this carb works. It's
I don't know that, I can't recall if the Moki 210 carb was exactly the same or not. I don't recall now. I don't have that here with me. In fact, I don't have that engine anymore. I gave that engine to another human. Let's see if I can figure out, get this, go back in there and get this. Let me just push this back on. There's really nothing apparently to retain this other than you just need to know the orientation and use the notch, put it at the top and push it on there. Now when I was at the swap meet, I was rotating this, I was like, wow, this seems really loose. Maybe it'll, you know, adjust itself in flight, but or while it's running, but I don't know that it will. Especially now knowing that, because I thought, well, maybe it's a used engine, the O-rings are flat, but these O-rings look really good. In fact, I've got some 3-in-1 oil here. Might as well put a little bit of lubrication on that. Push that back in place. As long as I'm here, might as well put a little oil on all of this stuff. So that's our carb. And I know I don't have the head screwed on here, but I'm gonna, just for the heck of it, put a couple drops of oil on here, and in this area here on the crankshaft. Why? I don't know, because it's here. A few drops on the piston there. Yeah, so I'm saying that this is a new, never run by a human or by a customer owner engine. Now the fellow that I bought it from, he didn't really seem to know much of anything about this engine at all. I gotta remember, did this have, I think it came like this. I think I want to put some oil on that. He just kind of was there with 4 or 5 items, and when I bought this, he's like, oh, I finally sold something. So I don't know, I don't know what his deal was. He had a couple of strange items, and this was the nicest of the strange items he had. And he seemed really happy to get $50 for this engine when it's probably, you know,
A $200+ engine. Oh, I'm sorry. See what I mean?
I zoom in and I forget. I start talking. I'll throw this stuff back together here real quick and keep blabbering on. Anyway, he seemed really, really happy to get $50 for it. And there was another engine there that I was considering buying. And hopefully the guy that tried to sell it to me isn't watching, because I'm going to call him out on this. I went by the table 3 times, picked it up, looked at it. It was a Weber Speed 120 engine. Very obvious that it was a used engine. The guy saying, oh, this is brand new. It's never been run. I was like, wow, really? I said, look at the side of the piston. It's got all kinds of carbon on it. Well, maybe it was run one time. Now, granted, it was a nice looking Weber Speed 120, and I've never had one of those on the channel, so I was really considering it. But I kept going back to this Moki, and I'm like, you know, that last Moki I had ran really well. I've run a couple of Webers. The last Weber I've got here has some issues with the carb or whatever. Or basically it was, had carb issues, and then it was, see, look at this. That shim is in the way, and it's not allowing these screws. Okay, maybe I just didn't have it lined up. Oh, see, it's like I have to push in on that to get it around that shim. I don't like that. The other Weber Speed 90 I've got here, Speed 60, I don't remember what it is a non-runnable engine, because it was so wore out that by the time it started up in 15 seconds into the run, it would overheat and just die. So that's why you're not seeing any videos of that. So this Weber Speed 120 looked like a pretty decent engine. It came with an exhaust. I think it came with one of these type of Bisson exhaust, but I mean, it was just well used. And the guy's sitting there trying to tell me, oh, it's a new engine. And it had a spinner on it, and he wanted $80 for it. And granted, I probably could have said, oh, I'll give you 60 or 50, and he might have taken it and come home with 2 engines for maybe just over $100, but I chose not to do that. I chose to just go with one and that one being this Moki, because I had such a fun time running that other Moki that was so generously given to me. So anyway, that has been the look inside and of this Moki 120, or not Moki 120, I'm thinking of that damn Weber speed engine. Moki 180 engine, and hopefully this is one that you will see on the stand. I'm going to tighten all the rest of this stuff up and finish this video here real quick. This is one you'll see on the stand hopefully very soon, and I should still have appropriate props for it. The only thing that I thought was weird was it came with this nut here, and I don't know, this is a nut that goes on a spinner. This is such a huge crankshaft. I'm pretty sure I don't have any other nuts like this. Clarence Lee was saying that he was able to hand start this Moki 180 very easily, so I'm not really all that concerned. It's just that this is probably not a stock item. This washer, I'm not sure. I'd have to go and see if I didn't see too many pictures on the Clarence Lee review. But anyway, that has been a long-winded discussion and look inside of this Moki 180 two-stroke engine. Thank you very much for watching.